Sad news to report. You may have already heard that Tanzanian President John Magufuli has died. It's sad because Magufuli was a champion for his people. He stood up for them. He cut corruption. He built new infrastructure. He slashed his own salary and the salary of many people in the government to return that money to be used in programs that would better his country. Magufuli is well known for his trick he pulled on the COVID testing lab in his country. He covertly sent samples of papaya, motor oil, goats, and other things, other non-human things. He gave them human names, and he sent them to the lab. And sure enough, some of those results came back positive for COVID. And clearly, as you can see from the faces in this video, this is the crowd gathered to line the streets as his coffin passed by the other day. You can see they're not wearing any masks. The death rate in his country remained very low throughout this whole thing. And he didn't implement any of the social distancing policies, none of the lockdown policies, and none of the masking policies. He avoided the fear-mongering campaign. And for that alone, I respect the man. In today's video, I'm going to talk about some things surrounding Magufuli, the people who may have wanted to see him dead, what the shape of it looks like now. And I don't want to give the impression to anyone that I have a complete picture of what happened there, because I don't. This is just some things that stood out to me as I looked over this situation. It's important to note that Magufuli didn't just die. He had disappeared for weeks before his death was finally reported, and no one knew what was happening to him. As to his outspokenness about the PCR tests and other things to do with vaccines and coronavirus and other things, he was speaking from a position of knowledge. Magufuli graduated from Dar es Salaam University with a doctorate in chemistry. He also worked in the industry. So he knew what he was talking about, and he used his knowledge to make the WHO, the World Health Organization, look foolish. So you can see where this is going. He's standing up to the typical global powers in a big way. And then all of a sudden, he goes missing and dies at the age of 61. I don't know, it's a little suspicious to me. And even here, I just want to show you one more thing. Back in 2017, in an article in Reuters, it says Tanzania's Magufuli rejects calls to extend rule beyond two-term limit. You see, what was happening was people in his country wanted him to stay their leader forever. And he said no. He said, I have sworn to defend the Constitution. I shall play my part and pass on the leadership reins to the next president when the time comes. He was well loved, and he was a constitutional loyalist. He stayed true to the Constitution, which is, in actual fact, if you look deeply into this, that's part of the problem. The people that they are putting out there in the press all the time that speak badly about Magufuli, one of their criticisms is he never changed the Constitution at all. That's their criticism. They wanted him to undermine the Constitution, and he didn't. One of the people, by the way, who is out there speaking ill of Magufuli is this guy, Tundu Lissu. He was the opposition leader in Tanzania. But this guy has no room to talk. He himself violated the Constitution. In fact, listen to this. He was the opposition leader, but in September 2017, he got shot, and he ran from the country. And since January 2018, he has been in Belgium. Finally, in June 2019, they kicked this guy out of the government. They're like, he's been out of the country for years, not disclosing your expenses and your assets and your debts as is required by their constitution. Imagine running from your country, staying in Belgium for 2 years, and then saying Magufuli is a criminal and corrupt. Imagine doing that. It's obvious that this is one of those color revolution type deals they want to run. Well, now they don't have to. Now they don't have to, because now Magufuli is dead, either by Well, we don't know how. The official word coming out of the woman who is now president, she says he died of a heart condition that he had had for 10 years. The opposition guy here is going all over the news saying that Magufuli died of COVID.
I had expected this all along. From the first day I tweeted on March 7th, on Sunday of last week, when I asked the question, where is President Magufuli and what is his state of health? Magufuli died of corona, and that is one. Number two, Magufuli did not die this evening. I have information from basically the same sources which told me that he was gravely ill. I have information that Magufuli has been dead since Wednesday of last week.
He knew weeks ago that Magufuli was dying of COVID somewhere, according to his unnamed sources. He's not surprised of the news of the death, according to his unnamed sources who let him know everything that was happening. You see any pattern here? Does it remind you of anything? Lissu said that Magufuli dying of COVID-19 was poetic justice. He said that out loud in public. And they just love that, don't they? The thing about, oh, he was a COVID denier and now he has died of COVID. To me, it shows their inhumanity. It's disgraceful. By the way, he's not the only one who died. In February, a man called Maalim Seif Sharif of Zanzibar, which is a part of Tanzania, he also died supposedly of COVID, February 18th, 2021. I don't know which side of the COVID debate he landed on, but he also suddenly died. The creepy thing about this is a lot of people could have called the possible hit on Magufuli, and one organization did. The Off Guardian published this on March 12th, so just days before Magufuli was reported dead. They said Tanzania, the second COVID coup. The Off Guardian speculates that we might be about to see the sudden death and or replacement of the president of Tanzania, just like they did to Pierre Nkurunziza of Burundi. He refused to play along with COVID and instructed the WHO delegation to leave his country before dying suddenly of a heart attack or suspected COVID-19. And then his successor immediately reversed every single one of his COVID policies, including inviting the WHO back into the country. That was in Burundi. As the Off Guardian points out, the Guardian had published this article in the first week of February saying it's time for Africa to rein in Tanzania's anti-vaxxer president. And they say, what is wrong with President John Magufuli? Many people in and outside Tanzania are asking this question. At about the same time, the Council on Foreign Relations published an article in which they say a bold figure within the ruling party could capitalize on the current episode to begin to reverse course. They were speaking about Magufuli possibly having COVID-19 because he was missing and nobody knew where he was. Council on Foreign Relations is saying a bold person within the party could capitalize on this. In the Guardian article, they say that Magufuli needs to be challenged openly and directly. Magufuli's unconscionable stance should compel us all to act. And they go further than that. Look what the Guardian says. This seems like a veiled threat to me. They say Magufuli knows that Ghana's former president, Jerry John Rawlings, has died from the virus. So too has former Congo-Brazzaville president. Last month, 4 Zimbabwe cabinet ministers, including Sibusiso Moyo, died of COVID. In Malawi, 4 government officials, including 2 cabinet ministers, succumbed. In Eswatini, former Swaziland, Prime Minister Ambrose Dlamini fell to the virus. Sudan's last democratically elected Prime Minister Sadiq al-Mahdi has died, as has Libya's former Prime Minister and Somalia's former Prime Minister. In Burundi, Tanzania's neighbor, 2 former presidents, Pierre Nkurunziza and Pierre Buyoya, have died from COVID-19. So they list 16 people who have died from COVID-19. What are they trying to say? The question of whether or not this is a covert threat towards Magufuli becomes even more important to answer when you consider that the entire global development section of The Guardian is paid for by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and has been for years. So I wonder what editorial control they get over this section, and I wonder what they were up to here. Were they threatening him? It's hard to tell. There's so much plausible deniability in that article. Well, who is going to replace him? We already know it is Samia Suluhu Hassan. She is now the president of Tanzania. And when you look into her, it says that after her studies in 1992, she was employed in a project funded by the World Food Program, which is, of course, the UN. And then she went to England for some more education. And she went to the Open University of Tanzania. Further in the article, it says she's married to a guy called Hafid Amir. And her daughter, Mwanu Hafid Amir, is a member of the Zanzibar House of Representatives. So she's also in government. Mother and daughter are in government. And her daughter also went to the Open University of Tanzania, studied at the Center for Foreign Relations and something called InfoServe USA, which I have not yet done a dig on, but they sound very State Department-y to me. I'm going to look at her husband in a second, but first I just want to go through a little bit about the Open University of Tanzania. Here's their report, their annual report from 2014-2015, and they mention that they got outstanding growth in their finances, and a lot of that comes from the World Bank and an organization called SIDA, which is the Swedish International Development Agency. They rank at the top of funders, so they say. And the other partners in the top 5 positions are the Open University of UK, Association of Commonwealth Universities, the Rockefeller Foundation, and UNESCO. So now we're talking about the deep swamp, the Rockefellers, and the United Nations grift program. That's what that is. It just sucks taxpayer money, and really who knows how it gives it to projects that it wants to use to reformat the world. And you can see in here that the University of Tanzania had super extreme growth starting in about 2008, where the numbers in the front go from double or single digits to triple digits, and then on up way past that as we go through time. In 2014-2015, look at the exponential growth there. There's two other sources of funds they mention that gave quite a lot to the Open University of Tanzania, and that's Costech and Agra Project. Costech looks good when you first glance at it because it says it was created by an act of the National Assembly of Tanzania in 1986, and it looks like it's a government thing, but if you look at their non-governmental and international affiliates, you see KPMG, Palladium International, Foreign Affairs Finland, and other things which I didn't dig into. If you look at the Agra Project, boom, there you go again. It's Bill Gates and the Rockefeller Foundation. Agra was set up in 2006 by Bill and Melinda Gates and the Rockefeller Foundation. One major customer for Agra farmers is the UN World Food Program. And isn't that exactly where the new president of Tanzania got her start in the working world, the World Food Program? The Open University of Tanzania, as it turns out, is actually purely correspondence and distance learning. The overseeing body, puts together the curriculum and all of that, is St. Mary's University out of Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and also the Korea University out of Korea. Remember that Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, the current leader of the World Health Organization, is from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. And when he was Minister of Health in Ethiopia, he made tight relationships with Bill Clinton and the Clinton Foundation and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. In 2010, the U.S. State Department named Ethiopia as one of the U.S. Global Health Initiative Plus countries. I wonder what that means. And I wonder if that has anything to do with why in about 2009, the Open University of Tanzania got tons and tons and tons of money. Way more exponential growth in the amount of funding it got from organizations like the Rockefeller Foundation and UNESCO and all of that. I don't know. I'm not alleging anything, but it could be possible. Now, we know that the new president of Tanzania is married to a guy called Hafid Emir. And I can't find a picture of them together, so I can't verify anything. But there is a guy called Hafid Emir that works at TAC-AIDS. He's been there 10 years and 11 months. And he is the HIV/AIDS regional coordinator. That would kind of go along with all the other things we've just learned. Because the HIV/AIDS thing is all the same groups again, overlapping with the mega super predators on the health scene, which are the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the World Health Organization, the United Nations, and of course the Rockefeller Foundation. And I already exposed how Bill Gates is tied into this with his global fund and how he practically owns the World Health Organization. He was the largest funder of the World Health Organization next to the United States. And if you don't know about this, this is going to blow your mind. See down here I have Anthony Fauci, PEPFAR. That's because he convinced the government to start this unit, this branch of the State Department called the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief. And these guys get billions of dollars, which they dole out to international countries through the embassies, as far as I understand it, to unaccountable NGOs. I say unaccountable because the only entity which audits this money is the United Nations, and they won't let anybody see the full package of the audit trail. The PEPFAR money goes directly through the State Department, mostly to the United Nations, who then dole it out as they see fit. It just so happens that the person in charge of PEPFAR at the U.S. State Department is Deborah Birx. So Anthony Fauci and Deborah Birx both end up on the coronavirus task force. That's amazing, after having been together with this PEPFAR organization. So they're just running a new scam with the same old blueprint and map. Just replace all these PEPFAR symbols with coronavirus symbols. Bill Gates actually gets billions of these dollars. They go into his organizations, and he creates mostly vaccines. And then through his for-profit investment company called the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation Trust, that money comes back to him personally. Massive, massive scam. Okay, but we're supposed to be talking about Tanzania, right? All right, well, the husband of the new leader of Tanzania, Hafid Emir, I think, works for that TAC-AIDS organization. And I think he also is the Tanzanian contact for another organization called Genesis Analytics. If you look here, it says Meet Our Country Teams. You go to Tanzania, and it says Dr. Hafid Emir, the Tanzania Commission for AIDS, TAC-AIDS, same guy. The partners in Genesis Analytics are the Global HIV Prevention Coalition, Genesis Unlocking Value, University of Manitoba, which also is home to our Canada's only level 4 virology lab, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. All right? But it doesn't stop there. I wanted to see what this organization is, Genesis Unlocking Value, because that's what this is all partnered in. And look at this. Genesis is about behavioral economics. Behavioral economics is a powerful field that combines economics and psychology and uses the understanding of these sciences to influence behaviors and improve decision-making for the better through low-cost, easy-to-implement interventions. In 2014, Genesis Analytics created the first team of consultants in Africa to use a scientific understanding of human behavior to solve applied business problems in the world. Our experience shows that changing behavior and improving decision-making add value in a wide range of industries and channels. We embed behavioral insights in below-the-line marketing and communications campaigns for large banks. We increase monthly contributions for retirement funds for large insurers. We adapt websites for luxury vehicle multinationals. We redesign loyalty programs for large retail e-commerce platforms. We train organizations to take advantage of behavioral economic capabilities. Does that sound like an organization that should at all be involved in AIDS or health? But that's where they are involved, in partnership with Bill and Melinda Gates. And that's where possibly the new Tanzanian president's husband works? I guess that's a handy thing for the globalists, isn't it? As this Kenyan political analyst says, Magufuli came in on the platform of fighting corruption and empowering the masses. It is the people who have been benefiting from corruption and all these other funny things who are not very happy with him. As Tanzania moves forward under their new leadership, it will be interesting to see what changes. Will it be like in Burundi? Will the incoming administration reverse all of the work Magufuli did? Will the people of Tanzania start to get scared? Will they be seen now wearing masks and social distancing? Will their businesses crumble because of a lockdown? Because we can see from the lineup who came to pay their respects to Magufuli the other day, that's not the case right now. How quickly will they turn Tanzanians into frightened little sheep? Maybe they won't. We can keep our fingers crossed for that. I'm going to stop talking now. Thanks a lot for being here, everybody. Please remember, if you'd like to support my work, go over to amazingpolly.net. You can send me an online digital contribution, or you can see my P.O. box there, where you can send a letter or a gift or cash wrapped in tinfoil. I'm still collecting it. I love that. Either way, whichever you choose to do, thank you so much for being here, for sharing the video. Please leave a thumbs up. Please leave a comment if you would like to. And until next time, everybody, peace out.